You are listening to the Fine Food and Healthy Living Asia podcast,
where we talk about fine food and healthy living throughout Asia.
So let's get started. Hey everybody, Ian and Todd here.
Welcome to the Fine Food and Healthy Living Asia podcast.
If this is your first time listening, then thanks for coming. The Fine Food and Healthy Living Asia podcast is produced every week for your enjoyment, and show notes are found on our Facebook page.
Come back often and feel free to add the podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram, or on my blog, toddinasia.com. That's Todd with two D's in Asia.com.
All links are in the show notes. Now, let's get started. Welcome today, listeners, to this week's podcast. Today we're actually broadcasting live from FOLO Farms. It's an organic farm situated just north of JB, or Johor Bahru in Malaysia. A beautiful location. We're right on top of one of their main nurseries. They have an amazing piece of land here that's undulating hills, so much greenery. You can hear a lot of the birds in the background. You may be able to hear some of the geese and the chickens and all sorts of stuff. So really enjoy coming down here, well we do, and I hope you enjoy this week's episode. With me today is my co-host Todd Lennox, and Todd will also introduce our guest today.
Hello Ian, good to see you. How are you doing today?
Good, thanks mate.
Awesome, great to see you as always. And we had a lovely morning up here at the farm. Took a little tour from Lemuel and saw some of what's going on here. We'll let Lemuel describe that in a second. Today with us is Lemuel Ng from FOLO Farm. Lemuel's a medical doctor by training and began his career by serving the poor and marginalized, and then ventured into community development. His background includes being part of the Bread of Life Center, also at the SEAPC Touching Hearts Project. And he's a self-described storyteller, tea drinker, plumber, sometimes occasional chef, definitely always ready to eat what is set before him.
Jack of all trades by the sound of it.
Absolutely. So, Lemuel, welcome to our podcast today. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Finally, I get to meet you guys. I've heard a lot about you. I've been away for a month in Taiwan, and thank you, Todd, for becoming our member, and thank you for introducing Ian, the Yabby Man.
Yeah, Yabby Man Ian. So I thought we'd start off with just you giving us a little bit of your background and what brought you to begin FOLO Farm along with your partners.
Sure. Wow. I mean, it's been quite an adventure. It's been 4 years now. And looking back, it seemed like it was, just a month ago. About 4 years ago, I was fortunate enough to find someone willing to marry me.
I know what that's like. It took me about 40 years.
40 years. Yes, and we decided to move back to my hometown, Johor Bahru. I've been away from this place for more than half of my life. And we came back mainly because my parents decided to stay put and not migrate. Most of my siblings are overseas, in Singapore, in China, in the US, and my parents decided to stay put at where they brought us up. And me, having been away for 16, 18 years, almost 20 years, decided that heck, while I still have the time, I better come back and spend time with the old folks. Yep. That's how I got back here to Johor Bahru with my spanking new wife, Justine.
And your wife is Justine, and she's also a very integral part of the farm.
She is. She's definitely a blessing in my life. I definitely don't deserve her. She's a California licensed family therapist and has a heart for the young people from broken families. So we met in Hong Kong. Long story short, I persuaded her to marry me because of my stable career as a doctor. We were able to provide for her and all this and that. She came here, her parents gave her blessings, and 6 months down the road, we rode back home and said, to our parents and said, we're gonna go and do farming.
They thought they were getting a doctor in the family.
Yeah.
Yes.
That would have gone down like a ton of bricks.
Oh man, yes, they were shocked. I mean, very surprised. But when they heard why we wanted to do this, my in-laws, bless their hearts, they gave their full support, and we got on this journey of farming and feeding our loved ones. So what happened about 4 years ago when we got back was that a lot of my friends and family that we got the opportunity to reconnect with, turns out that a lot of them were unwell, and it was not like they were down with a cold or got in an accident and need a bone fixed. A lot of them had chronic diseases. So we are talking about diabetes, we're talking about cancer, autoimmune diseases. And what really broke our hearts and what really got our heads scratching was that a lot of these were the young folks. They were not the old ones. Like my dad at 80, I mean, he was, okay, he's got diabetes and dementia, but what do you expect, right, out of an 80-year-old? But the young ones were the ones that were sick. I remember a very close young lady. I would call her my god sister. She was in her mid-20s, and she had like end-stage renal failure. Right? And she's not the kind of party hardy, hard drinking, hard smoking, hard drugs kind of a girl. She
Relatively
was
healthy lifestyle.
Healthy lifestyle. She only found out when she was furthering her studies in Australia. That great nation down under. She was there, and you had to do a annual medical checkup, and they found that something's wrong with she was like just pouring protein out in her urine.
Right.
And they found out that her kidneys left less than 10%.
Functioning at less than 10%.
Yes. We were utterly shocked, right? And me being the doctor in a community and having I did most of my studies overseas. We started calling all my colleagues, all these specialists and stuff, and got her referrals, second opinions. And all we could say was, in the medical lingo, idiopathic.
Idiopathic. Which is...
The diagnosis was idiopathic. Sounds like an idiot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Idiopathic basically means we don't know.
Okay.
We don't know.
Okay.
However, those in the trade, those who are, who's been practicing medicine would know that, generally speaking, when we say that something is idiopathic, most likely it's linked to what we eat and our environment.
Okay.
Right? But you couldn't really put a finger to it.
Right.
But we
Just
know
something.
there's something.
Yeah.
I mean, even deep down in our gut, even for Chinese, for the Asians, right? In our traditional Chinese medicine, in our legacy, we know that most of our sicknesses come from what we eat, come from being in the place where we stay.
Yeah.
That our environment actually affects us a lot, right? And the food that we eat will determine our health. So at that point, it was a drastic situation. We wanted, at the very least, for our family, friend, not to at least be eating contaminated food stuff, right? So we wanted what people would say organic food, right? Having been overseas, in Australia and Canada and America, I mean, organic food is something that's fast becoming a norm. And not only is it a norm, people has the understanding and awareness that it is not just the label that is important. It's not that just you have a label that says it's organic, then that means that it's good. You actually have to go and visit the farms, because I mean, even in America, there are issues. If you just Google,
with labeling laws,
labeling laws. But even that, you will get non-organic food labeled as organic.
Yes.
If you look around, just Google, Washington Post and all this, they talk about how
it's a major problem.
It's a major problem.
Basically, when the labelling laws are introduced, quite often they're very loose, and it's the same in Australia. We have the same problem for free-range chicken.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
You can still, when people buy free-range chicken eggs, they assume that their chicken's running around outside, but of course, it actually refers to the amount of space that
they have like
to live in.
2 inches on either side of them. It's free range.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yes. So what happened for us 4 years ago was that we took this awareness and we basically called up every organic farm that we could get hold of. We went to supermarkets, we went to organic stores, we looked for organic food, and usually they would have a label to say that where they come from and stuff. So we
Right.
tried calling them. Some of the numbers don't even work, and
Really?
then some numbers when we call and we tell them we want to visit, they say no. And then the ones that say yes, please come and visit. So we actually made the trip to visit a number of organic farms, and after doing all that, we decided that it is actually we felt more at peace to basically just grow our own. Just to grow our own.
Yeah. And you met along the way Pierre.
Yes, Pierre.
Can you tell us about that meeting and how that influenced what you did at the farm?
Pierre is this a French Canadian who has been based in Taiwan for over 40 years. Prior to this, I've never heard of him. And how I wish I've met him earlier, because he's really a living legend. I mean, he's in his 70s right now, almost 80. He did he has 3 masters under his belt. He was a Jesuit missionary
No
to
kidding.
Taiwan.
Wow.
Right? He pioneered the Chinese display interface for all our computers.
Huh.
He was the one that brought Hewlett HP, the American company, into Taiwan. Was integral in getting the high-tech industry started in Taiwan, but started farming about 15-20 years ago because the wife got sick.
His wife got cancer.
His wife, Sue, a lovely lady, turns out to have a very aggressive form of breast cancer. This is about 20 years ago, right? And Pierre, by divine appointment or by coincidence, whatever you call it, started farming. And his vegetables, the vegetables that he farmed when he fed it to his wife, had almost miraculous effects
Wow.
on her health.
Wow.
And it snowballed into visits by the doctors and the nurses in hospitals in Taiwan, visiting his farm, and agricultural scientists from Japan, visiting his farm and testing his vegetables. So it turns out that the way that he was growing his vegetables, he was able to increase the nutrient diversity and density of his vegetables far beyond what other people were able to do.
So it's just not flavor that you're, and it's not just about the chemicals
Yes.
that occur in normal production of agriculture,
Yes.
but for organics, you get better nutrient levels, you get better taste
Yes.
as well.
Yes. And the organic standard is actually something that's very loosely defined, but
Right.
everybody would agree that if you want to call it organic, you must have the absence of chemicals.
Yeah.
Synthetic.
Yes, the absence of all this poisonous stuff, right?
Yeah.
But that is the bare minimum. What Pierre is doing in his farming method is not about the absence of stuff that kill you,
Yeah.
but how do you maximize
Yeah.
all the good stuff
Yeah.
that will allow you to fight against
Yeah.
diseases.
Sure.
Yes.
So how's his wife doing now?
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
So how do you maximize the goodness
Right.
in that situation?
At the end of the day, it comes back to the soil. It's a matter of how do you treat the soil? How do you actually replenish the diversity of nutrients that is found in the soil? Because every time you grow something, it takes away the nutrients.
Yes,
Right?
that's right.
And like for chemical farming, you would replace it with chemical fertilizers. But how many chemicals can you replace? Last month when I was in Taiwan visiting Pierre and hanging out with the wife is almost 70, but is bouncing around full
Wow,
of energy
that's
like
amazing.
a bunny. I met up with an agricultural scientist, and he told me that current agricultural science has identified over 60 essential nutrients that a plant needs to grow. But out of these 60, all you need is less than 20 for you to actually grow something, for it to actually look like a vegetable.
Right.
It might look like a vegetable. That means, this is what they are doing with what we call industrial farming. They will gather these 20 chemicals,
Yeah.
these 20.
Monoculture crops.
Yes, they will mix it together. Ian, you would know, right? Initially it was NPK, the big tree, but then now they talk about the 16 essentials, what they call trace elements. They mix it together, they put it in a solution, and you can grow lettuce out of it. It looks just like any lettuce grown out from the soil.
So instead of lettuce, it's sort of a version of a lettuce, but doesn't have all the nutrients, all 60.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Now 60 is what science know. But we believe, I believe the last podcast that you did with my co-founder Will tells you about this thing about us embracing the unknown.
Yeah.
I mean, man has our limitation,
Yeah.
right? So we embrace the unknown and we try to basically put in as much of the good stuff as we can possibly find in the soil, so that the vegetables that grow would have as much of this good
Right,
stuff,
right.
more than the 60 that we have
Yeah, yeah.
identified.
So, and the woman you talk about with the kidney failure, which is one of the reasons you started the farm, how's she doing?
Well, we are thankful that today that she's thriving. We were not able to stop her from losing her kidney, so she actually had to go for a kidney transplant. But even though when you're on a kidney transplant, you have to be on all these drugs, right? All these immune suppressor drugs to go. But today, she's actually a very successful chef in town.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
She was in Australia because of culinary school. All right. This is I think her second degree. The first one was in finance, but she felt that the passion was in food. Went for culinary school. She got faced with this problem about having, just losing her kidneys. Was very lucky to have a kidney transplant, and today she has successfully launched 1, 2, and I think sometime next week she's launching her third restaurant.
Wow, what's the name of the restaurant?
Okay, there's one called Mok Mok.
Mock Mock.
Oh, I've heard of that,
It's
yeah.
in Plangi. So they are launching their third one called Bloom.
Bloom.
Oh, Bloom, yeah. I'm going there
in
for,
Austin.
You sent me that invitation.
Yes, yes.
Cool.
So the beautiful thing about it is because of her experiences, now her restaurants, it's all about flavor, and not just flavor, but good, nutritious
Yeah,
produce.
that's awesome.
Yeah, so her restaurants would source vegetables from our farm, right? And all the cancer patients that I have, people with autoimmune disease and stuff, they tell me, it's so hard to find good, healthy restaurant food out there. I say, fear not.
Yeah.
Fear not. There's Mok Mok, there's
Yeah.
Bloom.
Maybe you could take us on a virtual tour of the farm while we're overlooking it here, and tell us, maybe beginning with the collection of the food waste,
Yes.
and all the way to the end product, how things work here.
Sure. Now, when you come to FOLO Ban Phu, I mean, we have 3 farms, right?
Right.
So when you come to FOLO Ban Phu, this is the one where we are at right now. It's a bit, I would say, maybe 30 minutes from downtown JB. So we are in the what I would call the suburbia, suburban area. When you come into our farm, you realize that we are surrounded by plenty of oil palm and trees and stuff, and it's on the way here it's an undulating hill. So when you come to our farm, you realize that we're actually on the top of the hill, right, sloping, and that's very important because that means that we won't be getting all the chemical leachate that's from around.
Of course.
Right.
So if you're down in
Yes.
the valley, you'll be getting all that.
Yes.
Interesting.
So as you come into the entrance, I mean, you'll be anticipating like, wow, just vegetable beds, right? But no, that's not what greets you. You come in, you see piles and piles of compost.
Yeah.
They look like black piles of black mound, right?
Beautiful
Right.
smelling
Yeah,
compost.
and
Yeah.
and you was in the early morning when you come in, you see just steam.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This hot water vapor coming off from it, because what we are doing here is actually something called hot composting.
Yeah, I noticed. So you've got a tarp over the top of the compost.
Yes.
And that helps to rot and
Yes.
decompose the...
Yes, because I mean Malaysia, right? We have plenty of sun, but also plenty of rain. So the tarp is to prevent our compost from getting too wet, right? Because when it gets too wet, it doesn't get hot, right? So we have tarps on some of them, and on good days, what we do is all the tarps will be off, right? Then you start to see these steaming
Just,
piles of compost.
baking in the sun.
Yes, yes. And then as you drive through, you will see that if you come certain times in the morning, you will see our truck filled with brown beans. These are brown beans that we place in our partner restaurants, our partner cafes, that they would throw all their kitchen waste.
Yeah, those are
These-
like big garbage cans.
Yes, big 80 liters. They're huge,
Yeah.
right? Made in Germany, good stuff, lasts forever.
Fantastic.
So, our partners will put in the cooked and uncooked kitchen waste, food waste.
Okay,
Okay.
so
Right.
is it all vegetables or is there any meat?
No. I mean, if you once you come into our farm, past the compost piles, you see where they dump all this food waste. If you look up close, you can see like salmon head,
Yeah.
Norwegian salmon head.
Right,
You
yeah.
can see like a rack of lamb. Like
Yeah.
now we are entering into the Ramadan.
Okay.
The Ramadan month, so
Oh.
you know they sometimes they would roast this whole lamb, right?
Yeah.
So you
Oh,
see,
wow.
oh man, you
Oh,
see
man.
the head of the animal, the big bones
Wow.
and everything.
Yeah.
We have everything here. We
So
collect
the-
all kinds of kitchen waste.
So the cooks, the chefs, and the servers, the busters, they're all just putting their food of any sort
Yes.
into these bins.
Yes, into these bins, and
Okay.
every day we collect them, right? How much do we collect? A lot of people ask us.
Yeah.
We are basically running our own private waste collection system
For
here.
free.
Yeah, for free. We
Yeah.
have one truck, and we have a worker that is just 365 days collecting. We collect 3 tons worth
Really?
of kitchen waste a day.
A day.
A day.
Wow.
So how much is 3 tons? 1 ton is an elephant. So it comes to our farm. Now let's talk about what if we don't collect this waste. What will happen to
Yeah,
it, right?
yeah.
So this is key, and this is one thing that we are driving. We are trying to raise awareness. Is actually today we are collecting 3 tons a day. But did you know, for Malaysia, is 150,000. Will would say that it's 300. Will would say it's 30,000.
Right.
I think in the last podcast.
Yeah.
The official statistics is 15,000
Yeah.
tons,
Yeah.
not a year, not a week, but a day.
Yeah.
Okay,
Day.
Food waste.
Or food waste. So we
Yeah.
are stressing this.
So
It's
is that both from restaurants and domestic?
domestic?
household? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
That's in Malaysia. And where does this go to? It goes to landfills and mixed with all the
Oh, so-
plastics and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's with the whole of Malaysia or just JB?
The
or?
whole of Malaysia.
Okay,
The
yeah.
whole of Malaysia.
And basically, it turns into just garbage or carbon
Yeah.
dioxide,
Or worse still, methane.
methane. Yeah.
Methane
right.
in the landfills is
Which
a
is even
huge
worse.
environmental issue.
Yeah.
So what we are doing here is we are collecting it, and
So-
when it comes here, we mix it with a carbon source. Okay, so we use wood chips, we
chips.
use sawdust. You will see when you enter. This is a virtual
So
tour,
it reduces the methane.
right? You're
Big
right.
time.
You're right.
Beautiful.
The way that hot composting does is when this happens, what you let off is water vapor,
Ah.
some carbon dioxide, and a lot of what we call black gold. All the piles
Ah.
of compost that you see is what we call black gold that we use to plant our vegetables.
Yeah.
So as you come in, you will see this black gold lying around, right? These are like, oh man, what we slog over for. It takes 4 months. Not 4 weeks, not 4 days, but 4 months.
Yeah.
In order for us to get from food waste, the smelly stuff,
Mm.
to this, what Ian would describe, right? Sweet smelling compost. Right?
Yeah, to a farmer or anybody that's in the industry, well, in farming industry,
Yes.
it's a great smell because you
is.
know it's going to be great for the
Yes,
soils.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
So that's what you see when you come in, right? And then after you make the detour, you will, you'll start to see some vegetables that we are growing. The way that our farm works is we let you see the dirty stuff first, right?
Get it over with.
Yeah, get it over with, and then you start to see a bit of our experimental plots, like what we do on a small scale. You enter into a community area. We have built this wonderful community area that the government funded.
Right.
Yeah, for
Excellent.
us to host people to do workshops. That's where we gather. That's where every week our families would come. So we are right now serving about 100 families, right?
Yeah.
So a good number of them would come and collect their own vegetables. They will bring their home cooked food. I mean, we have a good friend Judy, right? That's
Yes.
that's your
Yeah.
neighbor.
Judy Miller.
Yeah.
Oh,
just
man.
lives 2 doors down from
Oh,
me.
Yeah.
you guys got to get into her good books, because
Yeah.
that woman really knows how to make good kombucha.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a
Amazing
kombucha.
kombucha.
Addicted kombucha drinker of Judy's good booch, as we call it.
Yes.
She's
yes.
actually the woman who introduced me to you all.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Wonderful woman. So
Very.
that's where we would have our, our community gathering place. Our farm is more than just vegetables. Our farm is more than just compost. Our farm is about community,
Yes.
right? About coming together, right?
I noticed we were on one of your tours earlier on. It was for some cancer survivors,
Yes.
cancer survivor group.
Yes.
And I loved what you were talking about in the nursery just below us.
Mm-hmm.
Can you go on about that? Talk about how every plant is just as important, just as you embrace every member of the community and anyone that comes here to FOLO Farms.
Yes.
Can you talk about a little bit about that for us?
All right. So it all goes back to the fact that Will and I, we are we grew up in an era where we kind of like Woodstock and and hippies, we are like hippies wannabe
Yeah,
kind of thing. And the fact of the matter was, both of us, and actually most of the founding families of this farm, most of us was of the product of the society willingness to give to people who are on the margins, right? So like for me, I was just this village kid, right, from Johor Bahru, right? But I was given an opportunity to study in Singapore, right? And Singapore is so much more well advanced, right, compared to Johor Bahru. But the people in Singapore, they welcomed me in, they took me in, and a lot of resources were spent on us. And I mean, all of us, Will went on was a high flyer in the corporate world, and I was a doctor, and we were able to see and do so much good, not because of our own ability, but because the community saw something in us.
Yes.
Right, and was willing to invest in us, right, and we were then able to give back to society, right. So it is actually in our legacy and in our genes, right. So similarly on this farm, just now when I was talking to, we had, I think today they told me it was 30, but turned out to be at least 40.
Yeah.
40, a group of 40 of these what we call cancer survivor families. A lot of cancer patients, right, before they were diagnosed with cancer, a lot of these people were actually very productive. They and I mean, just now you saw a big group of them were women, right? And women do a lot for the family. They take care of the house, they work, they take care of the family business, all this and that. But once they got sick, and they seem to be no longer producing, a lot of times they feel they lose their sense of worth. And in a society that's very performance driven, very results orientated, once you are not delivering, you are out.
Yeah. It's easy
Right?
to feel useless.
It's easy to feel useless, and people will also disregard you, right?
Yeah.
But is that a society that we want to grow old in? I mean, no, right?
No.
Of course not.
No. So similarly, just now as I was using when we are talking, these are all very philosophical ideals, right? But to make it real, how we make it real for our community is, we realize our values in the way that we plant. So a lot of farms, they will seed spray, right?
Correct.
All right, on a big scale, right? They just spray the seed, and whichever seedling isn't doing well or baby plant isn't doing well, they will just pluck it away.
Yeah. The
They'll-
strong survive.
Yes, the strongest survive.
Yeah, so what we would call in Australia selective breeding. So you pick out the stronger plants
Yes.
and crossbreed them
Right.
to get
Yes.
a better progeny.
Which makes sense in kind of a linear way, but
Yes.
your philosophy is different.
Our philosophy is different because when we are selectively breeding, we are making the assumption that we know what the future would be like.
Yeah.
And we will be selectively breeding for a future in which we think we can predict. But today, even today, we cannot even predict the weather for next month, I mean, the our weather is going cuckoo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? We
It
cannot
is.
predict.
And the problem is, if you're selectively breeding particular traits from a plant to grow bigger and faster, you may be ignoring specific genes in that plant that are more drought tolerant or stress tolerant or
You're
whatever.
right. You're
And
right.
those are the traits that sometimes you'll miss. So you'll get this super crop, but it'll be super dead in the long run if you
You're
have
right.
a really bad year.
You're right. You're right. So there is no one trait that would make you resilient, for the future. The key is to have diversity. Will talks about how New York City is resilient, right?
Yeah.
So the way that we do it in our farm, what we do is we don't seed spray. Every seed goes into its own small cubicle, small potting mix, and we take care of everyone.
Yeah.
And we especially pay attention to the ones that are not doing well. Because what we found was this, and this is reflected not only just in planting but also in society. When you take the effort, when you actually focus on the weak, the poor, the marginalized, and you try and give them the support that will make them thrive, the society on the whole thrives. Similarly for our plants. When we see that, this seedling, it's not doing very well, is it the potting mix? Is it too hot? When we adjust the temperature for that one seed and it thrives, you would find that all the other seeds will thrive. Right?
Right.
So that is the beauty.
Yeah.
That is the beauty of a society that takes care
Yeah.
of its poor, its marginalized,
Yeah.
its sick. And it is so beautiful to share this story when we have cancer patients.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because a lot of them feel that they are not worth it anymore because
course.
they can no longer produce, they can no longer deliver the results, right? Society shouldn't even spend time on them. Their family shouldn't even spend the money for the treatment, right? But when we show them that
Yeah.
when they themselves are open,
Yeah.
okay?
Show them the importance.
Yeah, show them the importance that when they allow their loved ones to take care of them,
Yeah.
not only will they get better, but their family
Yeah.
on a whole will
Yeah.
get better. That's when their problem, when an individual's sickness actually becomes a blessing for the whole family, a blessing for the whole community.
Yeah.
Right?
So the sick or the young, weak, or not so thriving plant or the sick individual is kind of an indicator of the community at large. And
Yes.
if you can find a way to help with that sick person or that sick plant, that's going to help the whole community
Yes.
because they're more or less not something to be discarded or something to be paid attention to. Like,
Yes.
hey, this is happening to our community.
Yes.
Why is this happening to our community?
Yes.
And by taking care of that person, we
Yeah.
take care of everyone.
Yes.
So beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I see them as, I'm not sure whether you guys are familiar with this, but in the olden days, in the coal mines,
Yeah. Yeah.
they will
Canary.
bring the canary down,
Yeah.
right? Canary, when they see the canary is not doing well,
Right.
They
Time
all
to
get
get
out.
exactly.
Yeah, they know there's gas in there.
Yeah.
Exactly. The sick and the poor and the marginalized, they are the canaries in our community. We have to take care of them.
Then those plants get transplanted into the larger farming beds.
Yes.
And I notice you don't plant them all, in the same kinds of plants in different rows.
Yeah.
It's kind of alternating
Looks like you've got rotations going.
Yeah.
rotation.
yes,
Tell us
yes.
about why that is and how that works.
Okay, to be very honest with you,
Yeah.
it's because we are not like Ian, we are not expert farmers.
Just accidentally.
Well, it's because you will know this, because every vegetable bed, even though it's on the same piece of land, every vegetable bed has its own idiosyncrasies, right? So we actually don't know what will grow well in each bed, right?
There might be extra chalk in the soil,
Yes,
or lime,
yeah.
which what we'd call lime, or
Yes.
the acidity might be a little
Yeah.
high, or something
Yes,
like that.
and the way that the slope is, you'll see that
Yeah.
we are planting on a slope.
That's right. So even waterlogged areas.
Yes, very different. So honestly, when we started, we were like, let's just try, let's just try, right? Let's just try. Now, other farms, what they will do is a lot of farms are monocropping. They will plant a lot at the same time,
Sure.
right? But for us, because we want diversity, so we could grow a lot of different crops, different vegetables at the same time. But where we grow them is really by trial and error. We'll try this crop here to see how it do. If it does well,
Ah.
then we know, this is good. All right, so we'll try another one. We for the same bed, we will never plant the same vegetables in the
Right.
same bed, because you know why? The same vegetables will always take away the same nutrients.
That's correct.
Ah.
Yeah.
So we will plant something else,
Yeah.
right? So to allow the soil to recover, right?
Oh,
While
yeah.
we add the compost and the liquid
Okay.
compost to it.
It's
The way that we replenish nutrients on our farm is mainly through our compost, right? We would rotate because we believe in the diversity,
yes.
right? And not only do we believe in the diversity in our rotation, when we plant, I mean, you were just down there at our beds, right?
Yeah.
You could identify at least at any one time on our farm at least 20 different
Yeah.
varieties
Yeah.
of vegetables
All
that's
different
growing
colors,
Yeah.
different
at the
types.
same time.
Yeah.
at the same time.
A lot. There's some stuff I couldn't even
Yeah.
recognize, to be honest.
Yes.
So in those beds, I noticed the first time I came here, I saw all the netting. I was like, oh, that must be for bugs. But you said no, it's not for bugs. It's for rain. But how do you control for bugs? I mean, there's a lot of bugs in Malaysia.
There is.
How do you
there
protect
is.
the plants?
So Todd, thank you for asking this leading question.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
he's
trying to lead you on.
he's a member, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of and I like the fact that Todd, you used the word bugs. A lot of people would just call them pests,
Yeah.
right out. They would
Yeah.
call them pests. Okay, we don't call them pests here. I mean, to call them pests would say that these are the bad guys, right? You want to get rid of them.
Yeah.
But to call them bugs, which they are, to call them insects, which they are, is actually a non-judgmental statement. For us, we actually don't see them as our enemies. The bugs are actually critical for the nutrient density and diversity of our vegetables.
Wow.
Right? So the bugs are actually our friends. The netting that you see on our farms is mainly to actually prevent the monsoon rain. We get we don't get hail here. We don't get hail, but when during monsoon rains, man, the raindrops are huge.
Yeah.
They hurt, when you're under the rain, they hurt you.
Yeah.
So these would, when they fall on the vegetables, they would destroy our vegetables, right?
Yeah.
Because they cannot especially the vegetables that are non-indigenous here. We grow a lot of vegetables that originally our ancestors would have brought from China, from different places. So these they cannot take monsoon rain. So our netting is actually to help to mitigate the monsoon rain hitting the vegetables, right? It's not to prevent the bugs. When you walk in our farm, when you come and do the tour, you will see that on the sides, all our nettings are actually up,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? We want the bugs to actually come in. Why do we want that?
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, are these guys that hippie? Are they crazy? And I say, what's happening here? I'm going to share this from my perspective as a medical doctor, okay? For those who have kids, when you have a kid and you love your kid, right? A lot of times we say we want to protect our kid, But imagine a kid that's growing up in a room that's all padded with cushion, with AC running,
Yeah.
and you could feed this kid the best ever nutritious food ever.
Yeah.
But you're just protecting this kid.
Yeah.
In
Would
a bubble.
in this bubble, would this kid be healthy?
Yeah.
No.
Probably not.
No,
Probably not. I mean-
unlikely, because he hasn't been exposed to the
Yes.
germs
Right.
in our
Yes.
environment.
Yes, the way that our body is created and the way that living things are created is that actually we need stresses in our lives. Only when we have stresses, then the stresses, when we interact with these stresses, this allow our body then to look back into our DNA, figure out what we need to fight this kind of stresses, and that's how we grow stronger. This is
Build up our immunity.
Yes, this is for, not only does it apply for human beings, it also apply towards the vegetables, towards the plants. A plant would only start to mount a response, an immune response, when it's attacked. Right? When it's under heavy rain or high temperatures, when it's stressed, that's when the plant would then look into its DNA, and figure out, okay, how do I deal with this situation? I need this, and then it will then go into the soil and then recruit what it needs, the nutrients, and then make these nutrients in their new leaves, for them to fight. So if you look at our vegetables, you will find that as our vegetables are growing, the old leaves might have a lot of insect bites because it just grew, right? Never met the insect before.
Yeah.
But once the insect attacks, its DNA would know, will identify what it needs. So when you look at the new leaves, less holes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So different vegetables would respond different ways.
Yeah.
Some would manufacture a certain phytonutrient that is actually a bug repellent, right?
Okay. Wow.
Some would actually make the for example the tomato plant, fruit flies. Always you get a lot of fruit flies, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You will realize that when you grow tomato plants and you give them the support that they need, the good soil, the good microbes, the good nutrients, the skin of the tomato actually gets thicker to the point that the fruit fly cannot
Penetrate.
penetrate.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right? So, and it is only when we eat these plants that can fight on their own,
Yeah.
with the support, then we are absorbing the nutrients
Right.
that will allow us to fight against stresses.
Amazing.
Okay?
That's so beautiful.
Yes. So, when you were there, when you were following me as we were talking to the cancer patients,
Yeah.
right? I keep stressing about the fact a lot of people have this wrong mindset that they are sick because they are overly stressed. And once they get sick, they have a diagnosis, a near-death sentence like a cancer diagnosis. They say, okay, I want to lead a stress-free
Right.
life.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
everybody wants to lead a stress-free life, right? People, guys, stress is not bad. Okay, stress is actually good for you. The key is the support.
Yeah.
The key is the support. Welcome and embrace the stresses in your life, and open your heart and be willing to plug into the support that is around you.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
That is
So-
around you, and
and-
you will become stronger
Yeah.
for the better of it.
Yeah. So it's not really stress that kills; it's the lack of support, good
Yes.
food. The
Yes.
4 pillars, as
Yes.
FOLO Farms says.
Yes.
Yeah.
The 4 pillars. Yes, Will would say.
Will. Yeah.
Man, Will is like the Zen master on our farm. You know. He's
Yeah.
like, you know, I'm just gonna be Lem, the tea drinker, beer drinker.
You're Lem. You're the perfect Lem. That's for sure. You don't grow food to sell in the market or
We
even
don't,
to sell to the subscribers as a traditional subscriber model, but you have what's called members.
Yes.
Explain how that system works.
So it's like a golf membership, you know. You pay, right, and then you come. I mean, pointless for you to pay for a golf membership and not come, right?
Yeah.
Right. That gets
course.
expensive.
yeah. So for us, because of the 4 pillars that we believe in, the nutrition, the community, the environment and the spirituality, it is very important for you to come, right? I mean, it's pointless for you to be a Christian and not go to church. I mean, you gotta go hang out, right? You gotta go hang out with the people.
Exactly.
So likewise, we call it a membership because it is more than just the vegetables that you are getting. You are actually getting plugged into a community. Remember
Right,
the
sure.
support,
Yeah.
the support that we are talking about. The membership is where we support you in terms of your nutrition. We support you in terms of your environment. We support you in terms of your community, and we also support you in terms of the spirituality. I mean, down here we have the Buddhists, the atheists, the agnostic. Everybody is here.
Every religion
Every-
all coming
Every
down.
religion or non-religion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the key is all of us are on a journey.
Yeah.
On a journey, right? So, you know, it doesn't matter which faith or non-faith that you are in, but as long as you are not stagnant,
Yeah.
you know, you
Yeah.
come here, and this is where we support you to move along in your journey. And when we call you members, actually, what we are trying to give you is a new mindset that, guys, as a member of a club, if a club is not doing well, it's the fault of the member, you know. Right? So we down here, we are all about member-driven activities. Right? I'm also happy to hear about Todd and Judy wanting to, you know, do a shop up, a
Yeah.
nice shop up front for us in here. These are the things that we like,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Are we going to be making money out of it and this and that? You know, that doesn't really matter. The fact that I have got wonderful
Proactive members.
proactive members,
Yeah.
expats, you know, foreigners that
Yeah.
are coming in
Yeah.
and, you know, investing their time.
Yeah.
You know, this is something that the chickens are happy.
Yeah, they are.
this the impact in terms of health,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right, for yourself and for the community is so different.
Yeah.
Did you know that today, Todd, when I had you sharing in a nursery with our cancer patients, you know, it makes a big difference to them because you know they come here, they pay. I mean, we subsidize these cancer patients, right? But they still pay a fee for us
Yeah.
to do the tour,
Yeah.
right? So I mean, they expect me to be, you know, to be doing a sales pitch, right? But when a member comes,
Yeah.
and you know, it's an expat, and he
Yeah.
says it,
Yeah.
and he testifies out of it,
Yeah.
the impact that it makes to these people,
Yeah.
right? Because a lot of them, a lot of all my expats friends who are here, they love Malaysia. You know, just now we have Xavier, right?
Yeah.
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 You know, loving Malaysia. But do you know a lot of Malaysians want to migrate to Australia, to other countries,
Right.
right?
Crazy.
But to have you guys come,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
and tell them how much you love and appreciate, it helps to change their mindset.
Yeah.
It
No,
helps.
it's
you
an
know,
amazing
beautiful,
country. It is.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, just I'm a member, and as I said, Judy Miller introduced me to FOLO, and I was lucky enough to make it in as a member. And
Don't make it sound like it's so exclusive.
it's not exclusive, but there is a waiting list.
There is.
Yeah. One of the things I like is we share equally everything that comes from the farm.
Yes,
so
yes,
if
yes.
it's a bad crop or a monsoon destroys half the produce, you know, your box might be a little smaller that week.
Yes.
If it's a bounty crop
Yes.
and there's just, plenty, abundance of vegetables,
Yes.
your box all of a sudden is stuffed with things you can barely even finish. So
Yes.
everybody shares equally. That's just a beautiful model of, as an author and a speaker that I follow. His name is Charles Eisenstein, wrote a book called The More Beautiful World Our Hearts Know Is Possible. And that's what I see here as what you are actually living in that world.
Embracing the community, embracing organic and good food,
Yes.
and embracing everyone, everything
Yeah.
possible. It's great.
Yeah, and I'm just, I'm moved and inspired, and I've sort of taken it as my mission to spread the word.
All right.
Yeah, and
You are our missionary.
I'm your missionary, and I'll be traveling to California in a couple of weeks. I'm
Okay.
attending the
Yes.
Pachamama Alliance Global Gathering, which is a group of environmentally active. They're into environmental sustainability, social justice, spiritual fulfilling life
Yes.
on the planet.
Yes.
And all the people there are like, that's what they're into.
Yes.
So I'll be sharing about the farm there.
Please do.
I was reading in a book called Drawdown by Paul Hawken.
Yes,
Are you
awesome
familiar with
guy,
that?
Paul Hawkins.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's giving a speech at the global
Oh, really?
community gathering I'm going
Wow.
to. Yeah.
Wow. Yes.
Yeah. So the third most impactful thing that you can do to help climate change, global warming, is drastically reduce food waste.
Yes.
One of the most important things that's happening right now is growing awareness of food waste, and
Right.
exactly what you're doing, actually using food waste
Yes.
to turn into productive farming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We don't encourage food waste. Right. There's already enough out there.
Yeah.
And you're
No.
right. We are providing a solution to this waste. Basically, waste to wellness is what we do.
Waste to wellness.
Yes. And when our members, when they come and be part of the farm, a lot of them, because now a lot of our farm members, they will also collect their own kitchen waste. They'll come and put it into the pile, especially those that come and pick up their vegetables.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But because of the fact that they are right now facing the amount of waste that they deal in the house.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody.
It's been an education. for
Yeah,
them.
yeah, it's been an education. In the past, it's something that you see no evil. You
Yeah.
know,
Now they're seeing it.
They're seeing it. It makes them more mindful and conscious of
Yeah.
how much they are
Yeah.
actually producing and wasting.
Right.
Right, and that would help to reduce the wastage.
Exactly. Yeah.
Reduce the wastage. Right.
So a member, like I come every Saturday and pick up my box of salad box, and but I can also bring my food waste if I have it.
Yes.
And it's welcome here. That's
Welcome
great.
here.
Yeah.
Welcome here. This sounds corny, but we welcome waste
Yeah.
and trash.
Yeah.
Organic, biodegradable trash,
Yeah.
at this place, because we can turn the trash into treasure.
What's your website address again?
Ours is FOLO Farms with an S, because we are more than just one.
Right.
FOLOfarms.com.
Good.
Beautiful.
Is there anything else that you would like to add, Lemuel?
Well, I want to tell to all the listeners out there that I really do not believe in chances and coincidences, right? And if you are listening to this podcast, most probably you might have just moved to Asia, or you are thinking of moving to Asia, right? And you are looking for information, and more than just information, you are looking for friends. You are looking for a group of people, right? A group of people to hang out with, because there's no happy hermit. There is no happy
That's
hermit,
true.
right?
Yeah.
And I want to encourage you to take a fresh perspective. As you are here in Asia, take a fresh perspective. I mean, Asia has been rapidly developing. Yes, there are a lot of ugly things in Asia, but there's also a lot of beautiful
Yeah,
things.
there is.
Right.
It's a gorgeous country so long as you
Yes.
keep your eyes open.
Yes, we hope that you'll come here with fresh eyes, get connected with the community, right? Be informed. I mean, Todd and Ian are doing a wonderful job of informing and inspiring. And not only be informed and be inspired, be involved.
Yes.
Be the change that you want to see in Asia.
Yeah.
Be
In
active.
Asia,
Yeah.
right?
Well, thank you so much, and also just personally, thank you to you, Will, Justine, the moms, the aunties, the uncles who have just welcomed me with open arms. I mean, I feel the community, and I
Oh,
feel
thank
the
you,
love
man.
here, and it's just so beautiful. And you're a beautiful human being, man, who's just dedicated really your whole life to the betterment of the world. And as Will puts it, you've made your life bigger than yourself and longer than your life. And I
thank you.
Really thank you.
Thank you for the reaffirmation.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that's it from FOLO Farms, and I wish you could all be here to see this beautiful site, but we'll put up some pictures on the podcast webpage.
We've taken a heap of pictures, so check it out and have a look, and also come pay them a visit.
Yeah. And best time if someone wants to come up here and visit would be
Saturdays.
Saturdays.
We are always open on Saturdays at 11 a.m.
Okay.
Always check our Facebook page because sometimes holidays and stuff we are
Sure.
not open.
Okay.
Now for a fully immersive tour whereby you get either me or Will just trying our very best to show you and tell you our stories and our journey, sign on for one of our what we call our open farm tours.
Yeah.
We try and keep the group small. I mean, 20 is usually where we keep it at, and we will show you everything that we do here. You can ask us questions,
Yeah.
and if you bring a beer for me, I mean, free consultations.
Yeah.
All right.
Happy man.
Bring a beer and maybe some tea for Lemuel, and you'll be all taken care of.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Thank you, Lemuel, and and thank you, Todd. We'll see everybody on the next podcast. If you're enjoying the Fine Food and Healthy Living Asia podcast, please consider supporting us by going to our homepage at www.finefoodandhealthylivingasia.com and making a donation.
We are beginning a new way to support the show by subscribing as a loyal member. Another option on our homepage at finefoodandhealthylivingasia.com. There are options to choose for the level of support you wish to give. We will always make our podcasts available for free and appreciate your patronage to be able to do so. If you subscribe with iTunes, please remember to give us a 5-star rating. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so and then give us a 5-star rating. For other subscribers on Google Play, Spotify, or any other aggregators, please rate us there. Once again, thank you for listening to the show.